Hello everyone, and this is Biophoenix here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a Super Nintendo game called Plok. Now, what the hell is a Plok? Well, it's actually the name of the main character in this game. But anyways, the game was developed by Software Creations and published by TradeWest in North America, and was released on the Super Nintendo in 1993. Now before I talk about the actual game, there is one interesting story behind this game as how it was made. So there was an arcade game called Flea Pit, but the game was cancelled. And interesting enough, the game was developed for Rare's Raz hardware, but the game was way too complicated for what it is. So what they did instead was that they scrapped that idea, but tried to use something with the same concept, but not as complicated. And that is the basic of how we got this game being made, because this game still has fleas within it. So for now, let's talk about the game. So it's a side-scrolling platformer, and the yellow and red guy is Plok, and he can throw his limbs, like his arms and his legs, at people like boomerangs. And when you find a present and you open it, there's a good chance that you'll find a power-up which can give you some guns, a flamethrower, and some boxing gloves, and various other things. And sometimes you can even get some vehicles like some tanks, motorbikes, and helicopters, and various other ones as well. Yeah, there's quite a lot of variety when it comes to the power-ups. And there is a lot of levels within this game, but they're very short, so it's almost like Adventure Island. And of course, a lot of them are pretty difficult. And another thing you can do is, shit, I forgot to talk about the story. Well, I guess I'll also go through that pretty quickly. So the story begins that when Plok wakes up, he realizes that his square flag is gone, and he's all angry about it, so he decides to go onto the island that is right beside him, which I believe is called Cotton Island. And normally you'd think like, well wait, is that the entire game, is that you have to go out and fetch a flag? Is that it? Well, during the first level, yes it is, but then after that you realize that that whole scheme is supposed to be a decoy for the fleas to start attacking your island, and that's where the real shitstorm begins. And that's really all I have to say about the story, nothing more glorious than that, but it's at least alright for what it is. But it is kind of funny, especially like the random things that Plok says between levels. It's cheesy, but it works. So after getting that out of the way, even though I kinda did that ass backwards, let's talk about the controls, and all I have to say is that the controls are actually pretty good. So moving around and jumping is easy, same thing with attacking, that's also really easy, but you can only attack up to 4 times, but it's understandable considering that you only have 4 limbs. But there's another jump you can do where pretty much you kinda do like a spin dash sort of thing, where it makes you jump higher, and you can actually damage some enemies like that. Not all, but some. But I myself have never ran into any issues within the controls, so for that, it's actually quite good. Now before we move on to other things, there's going to be something else I want to talk about, where the difficulty, you can actually change it from normal, easy, and hard. And when you put on easy, you can pretty much just like kill everything no matter what, but if you play on normal, there's only some enemies that you can't kill, like these dead fish that fly out of the water. It's a bit of a strange way to portray the difference between difficulty, but hey, it actually does work. I've just never seen anything like that happen before, so I guess it's unique in that way. Now one more thing that I want to mention is that whenever this bonus screen appears during the middle of gameplay, it's kind of annoying, mainly because it just drags on the flow of the gameplay. But that's really the only issue I have so far, so other than that, this game is still looking pretty good. Now as for the graphics in this game, I think they look really nice and bright and colorful. I really like it, it has a nice style to it. Although I kinda wish the game was made all with like claymation, kinda like how the box cover looks. But if you look at another Super Nintendo game that came out around this time, and that happened to be Clay Fighter. And that is one graphical style that I think is really unique and very cool. Now it is kind of unfortunate that the game doesn't look like that, but it's still a really nice looking game on the Super Nintendo. So I really don't have any complaints at all, I mean that was really just a minor thing. And as for the music, I think the music is pretty well composed. It's also very catchy, and I think it really suits the game well. So as again, nothing much else to complain about, but I have to say the music is probably one of the best things within this game. Now one interesting thing about this game, or about the character Plok himself, is that he made an appearance in another game, but you probably didn't know about it because it was a pretty obscure game on a pretty obscure handheld known as the Atari Lynx. Well, maybe it's not that obscure, but still, there's not many people that I knew that ever had an Atari Lynx before. And the game that he happened to appear in on that system was called Zaku. And no, I'm not talking about the Zakus from the Gundam series. It is a shoot 'em up, and a really weird one from what I can tell, but it's pretty weird and interesting to know that he appeared in another game. Now, if you want to buy this game usually costs around $15, and I think that's actually pretty good for a game like this, considering that I've never seen it in person before, and I don't hear too many people talk about it much, but I really think it's just the areas that I've been to that I've never seen this game before, or maybe I have, but I can't really remember, but at least the game is pretty cheap, so therefore you shouldn't have any worries of trying to get a hold of this game, and that, if I say so myself, is a good thing. Now, if I were to rate this game, I have to give it an 8 out of 10. It's a really fun and challenging platformer on the Super Nintendo, and it has a lot of charm too. And as unique as it is, it's not like the most revolutionary platformer game out there, but I still think it's a really fun game. I mean, not everything has to be revolutionary and brand new. But for a simple game that isn't trying to win any awards, I really like it a lot. And personally, I would consider this to be a hidden gem on the Super Nintendo if you ask me. And as I said a bunch of times already, there's nothing much else I can really complain about other than that whole bonus screen slowing down the gameplay. But thankfully that doesn't happen too often, so it's really not a big issue. So if there's anything else I can say about Plok, is that it's a clockin' good time. Okay, you know what, scratch that, that doesn't even make any fucking sense. So fuck it, it's a good game. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this review, thank you for watching and commenting.